My fiancée said she was visiting her parents. GPS led me to an abandoned warehouse. Before we begin the story, make sure to subscribe to our channel and never miss more incredible stories every day. If you told me 3 days ago that I'd be shivering outside a rotting warehouse at midnight, I'd have laughed in your face. But there I was, clutching my phone, the blue dot pulsing on the GPS screen, right where Emma's location should have been. Not her parents' house with the floral curtains and the yapping schnauzer, but this, a half-collapsed brick shell reeking of mold and regret. She said she was spending the weekend with her family. Sent me a sweet selfie from their kitchen, smiling next to her mom's famous carrot cake. Now, standing in the dark, I realized the timestamp was off. Hours off. I'd noticed her odd behavior before, late-night texts, new passwords, a nervous laugh when I asked about her job. I wanted to trust her. God, I needed to. We were getting married in 2 months. I tried calling, straight to voicemail. I texted, then tried her mom, who answered groggy and confused. Emma's not here, sweetie. Are you okay? I lied, said yes, hung up, and tried to steady my breathing. A guttural clang echoed from inside the warehouse. I pressed my back against the cold wall, heart pounding so hard I thought it might give me away. I nearly turned back. Then I saw her car, parked in the weeds, headlights off, like it was hiding from the world. Compelled, I crept to the side door, half praying I'd find a rational explanation. A flat tire, a lost phone, anything but what my mind was spinning. The inside was black, except for a slice of moonlight and a faint glow deeper in. I stepped forward, whispering, "Emma?" No answer. My foot crunched on paper. I glanced down. A torn envelope, my name on it in Emma's handwriting, stained and muddy. I picked it up, hand shaking. The envelope was empty, but on the back was a single word. Run. Suddenly, the warehouse filled with footsteps. Not one set, several. And a familiar voice, cold and unfamiliar. "He's here." I froze, clutching the envelope, heart rattling so loud it drowned out the echo of approaching steps. Shadows flickered across the far wall, bodies moving with a purpose I couldn't understand. 3, maybe 4 figures, their faces lost in darkness. Emma's voice hadn't been among them. Just that low, unfamiliar one that somehow knew exactly who I was. I slipped behind a rusted support beam, trying to steady my breath. My mind whirled with every strange moment from the past month. Emma's quick excuses, cash withdrawals, the weird key I found in her coat pocket. I called myself paranoid, but now paranoia felt like my only ally. A flashlight beam swept the floor, crawling closer. "Are you sure he's here?" one of them whispered. "He never could leave well enough alone," another replied, bitterness slicing through the gloom. I pressed myself tighter against the beam, searching for any escape. A broken window, a gap in the crumbling brick. But the only way out was past them. My phone buzzed, a single vibration that sounded like thunder in the silence. I nearly dropped it. A new text, "Don't let them see you. Trust no one." No name, but I knew the number by heart, Emma's. Every instinct screamed at me to bolt, but I needed answers. I slid toward the far end of the warehouse, using the shadows as cover. The envelope still clutched in my sweaty hand. I passed stacks of crates, shards of broken glass, and a discarded jacket, Emma's favorite green one. It was draped over an empty chair, next to a battered laptop and a burner phone blinking with missed calls. Before I could reach it, the footsteps grew louder, one of them breaking off from the group, moving straight toward me. My back hit cold brick, nowhere left to go. A beam of light hit my face. "There you are," a voice sneered. And behind them, a figure I recognized stepped into the moonlight, holding Emma's engagement ring in a clenched fist. The light stabbed my eyes, but I could make out the face behind it. Jake, Emma's older brother. His mouth twisted into something between a grimace and a smirk as he dangled the engagement ring in front of me, letting the diamond catch the thin sliver of moonlight. I tried to read his expression, anger, pity, or maybe a warning. "Looking for this?" he asked, voice low. He flicked his gaze to the other 2 men flanking him. One I didn't recognize. The other was Lucas, an old friend I hadn't seen since college. My mind reeled. What the hell was Lucas doing here? Jake took a step closer, eyes sharp. "You weren't supposed to follow her, man." I swallowed hard, fists clenched. "Where is she, Jake? What is this?" Lucas shook his head, sympathy or guilt, briefly flickering across his face. You need to leave, now? Forget about Emma. It's not safe for you here. But something inside me snapped. Not until I see her. Not until I get the truth. I tried to move, but Jake blocked me, pressing the ring into my palm with a force that hurt. Go home. Pretend you never saw any of this. It's the only way you walk away. A sudden shout echoed from the dark, making us all flinch. I heard footsteps sprinting, the slap of sneakers on concrete. Another figure appeared, Emma. Her hair was wild, her eyes terrified. She didn't look at me, just at Jake. Let him go, she pleaded, voice cracking. He doesn't know anything. Jake's jaw clenched. You should have stayed out of this, Emma. She took a desperate step forward. If you hurt him, I'll never help you again. Her words sliced through the tension, and I felt the ground drop beneath me. Again? Help them? My fiancée wasn't a prisoner. She was a player in whatever game this was. Jake hesitated, then jerked his head at Lucas. Get him out of here. Now. Lucas grabbed my arm, but I yanked free, voice raw. Emma, what's happening? Why are you here? What did you do? Tears welled in her eyes, but she shook her head. I'm sorry. I can't explain. Not here. Please, just trust me, run. But before I could move, the warehouse doors crashed open, floodlights blazed, and voices barked. Police. Nobody move. Emma locked eyes with me, panic and guilt swirling together. And in that frozen instant, I realized I was the only one here who didn't know the real story. Chaos exploded as police swarmed the warehouse, guns drawn, voices booming commands I could barely process. Jake dropped his flashlight and raised his hands. Lucas cursed and went pale, and Emma turned to run, but two officers blocked her path. Everyone down, hands where we can see them. I stumbled to my knees, still gripping the engagement ring, head spinning with shock and adrenaline. Flashlights darted everywhere, painting the shadows with frantic, moving beams. Within seconds, zip ties tightened around my wrists. I tried to shout that I wasn't part of this, that I was just looking for my fiancée, but my words disappeared in the blur of shouts and the clatter of boots. Through the confusion, I caught a glimpse of Emma, tear-streaked, silent as an officer led her away. Our eyes met for one brief second. She mouthed something I couldn't hear, her lips trembling. They dragged us outside into the cold, floodlights turning the cracked pavement into a stage for our humiliation. Jake refused to look at me. Lucas kept whispering, I'm sorry, man. I'm so sorry. Emma sat on the bumper of a cruiser, hugging her knees, head bowed. Hours bled together in a fluorescent-lit interrogation room. A detective, tall and tired, pressed me for answers. How did you know to come here? Who sent you the text? What do you know about Emma's involvement? Each question was a punch to the gut. I told the truth, at least the truth I knew. About the GPS, the empty house, the envelope. I left out nothing, hoping it would set me free. Finally, the detective slid a photo across the table, grainy surveillance. Emma handing off a thick envelope to a stranger outside the warehouse. Why would your fiancée lie about her whereabouts? He asked. I stared at the photo, heart breaking anew. I don't know. I whispered, and for the first time, I realized I meant it. As dawn broke, they released me with a warning, don't leave town. I stumbled into the gray morning, numb and shaking. My phone buzzed with a blocked number. The message read, meet me at the old pier tonight. Come alone if you want the truth. By nightfall, the world felt sharper, colder. I stood at the edge of the old pier, waves slapping wood beneath my feet, the wind tasting of salt and secrets. My mind was a carousel of questions, none of which made sense. Emma's text, if it was really her, had been clear, come alone or stay in the dark forever. A figure emerged from the shadows. It was Emma, shrouded in a long coat, hair tangled by the wind. She looked smaller than I remembered, her eyes haunted but resolute. Thank you for coming, she said, voice barely louder than the water. I don't have much time. Are you in trouble? I asked, stepping closer. Tell me the truth, Em. Please. She shivered, glancing over her shoulder as if expecting Jake or the police to materialize. You should have never followed me to the warehouse. You have to believe me. I wanted to protect you. Protect me from what? My voice broke. You lied to me. Your family lied. Even Lucas lied. Were you all in on it? Emma's lips trembled. It started with Jake. He got into something bad. Owed money to people you can't just walk away from. I tried to help, but it spiraled. I became their delivery girl. That's what you saw in the photo. I kept it from you because if you knew, you'd try to fix it, and you'd get hurt. She took a shaky breath. You're in danger, too. They know your name now. My knees threatened to buckle. So everything, our engagement, the wedding plans, was just a cover? Tears glistened in her eyes. No, that was real. All of it. But if you love me, you have to walk away. Tonight. Forget me. Please, just survive. She pressed something cold into my hand. My ring, still smeared with dirt. Go. I'll handle this. If you come looking for me again, they'll come after you. A car engine roared nearby. Emma stiffened, fear blooming in her eyes. You have to go? Now. As I turned to leave, a voice called out from the dark. Too late, lover boy. Now we're all in this together. A pair of headlights cut through the fog, illuminating 3 men climbing out of a black SUV. Their silhouettes were broad, faces hidden beneath low hoods. Emma's breath hitched. She pressed herself behind me, but I could feel her trembling. The biggest of the men strode forward, hands in his pockets, voice calm and cold. You don't listen, do you, kid? His gaze flicked to Emma. We told you to keep your personal life clean. Now he's involved. Let him go, Emma begged. He knows nothing. I'll finish the job. Just leave him out of this. The man chuckled, pulling a cigarette from his jacket. Trust is hard to come by, sweetheart. And you broke ours. He turned to me, his eyes sharp. You want to leave here alive? You're going to prove your loyalty. My voice shook. I don't owe you anything. He shrugged, blowing smoke in my direction. You do now. Your fiancé made promises on your behalf. He pulled a phone from his pocket and snapped a photo of me and Emma together. Insurance. If either of you talks, if either of you runs, this goes to everyone you know. The police, your jobs, your families. Maybe worse. Panic surged, but Emma squeezed my hand. Don't give them anything, she whispered. Don't give them your fear. The man grinned. We need a package delivered. Tonight. No questions, no police. If you both do this, we'll consider letting you walk. If not, he trailed off, gesturing to the edge of the pier and the black water below. He pressed a heavy envelope into my chest. You have 1 hour. Address is inside. Fail, and you both disappear. Emma's eyes filled with terror, but I saw something else, a spark of resolve. As the men stalked back to their car, she grabbed my arm and hissed. If we do this, we're theirs forever. But if we run, we might not make it out alive. My mind raced. The envelope pulsed in my hands. My choices had run out. Whatever we do, I whispered, we do together. The SUV sped away, taillights swallowed by the night. I stared at the package, my heart pounding. The next hour would decide everything. Who lived, who died, and what I was really willing to sacrifice for love. We huddled on the deserted pier, our breath curling white in the cold. Emma's eyes were wide, darting between me and the package. We have to move, she whispered. But we can't just do what they want. There's got to be a way out. I tore open the envelope. Inside, a burner phone, a slip of paper with an address, and a small, heavy box taped shut. No explanation, just a clear threat. Emma gripped my sleeve. That's not cash, she muttered. That's either blackmail or something worse. We have to see what's inside, I said, my voice barely steady. With trembling fingers, I pried open the box. Inside, flash drives, a single gold ring, and a photo. Emma and Jake, younger, smiling with a man I didn't know. Scrawled on the back. Insurance. For when loyalty runs dry. Emma paled. That's Victor, Jake's old boss. If they have this stuff. She trailed off, fear closing her throat. I pocketed the photo and flash drives. We deliver this, we're done for. But if we go to the cops, they'll never let us get that far. Emma finished, hopeless. The burner phone buzzed. A message, 45 minutes. Emma's panic gave way to calculation. There's a storage unit near that address. I used it before for drops. If we can switch the contents, maybe fake the delivery, we might buy time. Maybe even leverage. My mind raced. We need help. Lucas, he owes us. And Jake. If we can convince him to flip, maybe. Emma shook her head. Jake won't turn. Not unless he has no other way out. The fear in her eyes broke something in me. I'm not losing you, I said, pulling her close. We'll figure this out. We slipped through the night, dodging headlights and police cruisers, every shadow a potential threat. As we neared the storage facility, I texted Lucas, Desperate. Meet us at the unit. Bring anything you've got on Victor. Trust no one. We reached the unit, hearts pounding. Lucas was already there, pale and sweating. Jake's on his way, he whispered. He thinks you're betraying him. Before I could answer, the door behind us slammed. Jake stood in the shadows, gun glinting in his hand. You just couldn't leave it alone, he growled. Time seemed to fracture as Jake stepped from the shadows, the gun steady in his grip, his face a battlefield of fear and anger. Emma instinctively moved between us, but Jake didn't lower the weapon. You shouldn't have dragged him into this, Em, he spat. We had one chance to fix it, and now you've ruined everything. Lucas raised his hands, voice trembling. Jake, this isn't the way. Victor's men will come for all of us if we don't think. Jake's eyes flicked to the package in my hand, then back to my face. Give it to me. Now. My heart hammered. Jake, listen, this doesn't end with us. They're just using you. If you go through with this, you'll spend your life running. Jake's grip tightened. And if I don't, Emma dies. You both do. His voice cracked. He was as scared as we were. The air was thick with desperation. Emma's voice was soft but fierce. Jake, please. It doesn't have to be this way. We can end it tonight, but not if you pull that trigger. I can protect you. I have leverage on Victor. But you have to trust me. He hesitated, knuckles whitening on the gun. For a second, it looked like he'd lower it. But then the burner phone buzzed again. 15 minutes left. Lucas took a shaky step forward. Let's walk out together. We can go to the police. Jake's panic boiled over. No cops. No more lies. He pointed the gun at me. Emma lunged, grabbing his arm. The shot rang out, deafening, final. The world shrank to ringing ears and blurred movement. Jake crumpled, the gun clattering across the concrete. Blood stained his sleeve, but he was alive, sobbing, the fight gone from his body. Emma held him, tears streaking her face. Lucas grabbed my shoulder, urging me to move. We have to finish this. Now, before Victor realizes something's wrong. I nodded, numb, as I tucked the evidence back into the package. Jake's breakdown had bought us time, but also shattered what little trust remained. As we fled the storage unit, the phone buzzed again, this time with a video. Victor, cold eyes staring into the camera. You just made your last mistake. If I don't get my package in 5 minutes, Emma pays the price. We raced through the city, headlights blurring past, my pulse throbbing in my ears. Emma pressed a blood-soaked rag to Jake's arm, whispering promises she wasn't sure she could keep. Lucas navigated, calling out turns, the package heavy in my lap like a ticking bomb. The burner phone flashed another message. 2 minutes. We're not going to make it, Emma gasped. Lucas's eyes darted to mine. If we walk in there with the real evidence, Victor kills us. But if he realizes we've swapped it, he'll go after everyone we love. I thought of my family, of Emma's mom, of the future we'd once dreamed about. Was survival even possible? Suddenly, Lucas veered off course, taking a sharp turn down an alley. I have an idea, he muttered. He handed me a fake package, just an empty box, identical to the original. You'll make the drop. Keep Victor busy. Emma and I will get Jake to the hospital and then to the cops. You buy us time. Panic flared. You want me to walk in there alone? Emma squeezed my hand, tears trembling on her lashes. I trust you. Please, don't let him win. There was no time left. I took the fake package and slipped out into the shadows, heart hammering. The meeting point was another warehouse, this one even more sinister. Iron doors, broken windows, the sharp tang of gasoline in the air. Victor stood in the center, a crooked smile on his lips, flanked by 2 enforcers. You're late, he purred. I swallowed my fear, handing him the box. Traffic. He nodded to an enforcer, who slit the tape and peered inside. Silence. I waited for the explosion, for the gunshot. Instead, Victor grinned. Smart boy. But you forgot one thing. He gestured behind me. I spun around. Lucas, breathless and wide-eyed, held at gunpoint by a third man. Emma was nowhere to be seen. Victor's smile sharpened. Did you really think you could outplay me? One of you always betrays the others. Always. The gun pressed to Lucas's head. I had seconds to decide, sacrifice the evidence, or sacrifice my oldest friend. My world narrowed to the cold steel of the gun against Lucas's skull and Victor's predatory gaze fixed on me. Every instinct screamed at me to surrender, anything to save my friend. But if I handed over the real evidence now, Emma, Jake, and I would never be safe. I spoke, voice cracking. Let him go, Victor. I have what you want. Just don't hurt him. Victor chuckled. Do you really think I care about deals? You people keep making the same mistake. You trust each other. He flicked his fingers, and the man pressed the gun harder into Lucas's temple. Lucas tried to stay brave, but I saw the fear flicker in his eyes. I'm sorry, he whispered. I should have told you everything. Enough, Victor snapped. Show me the real package. Now. I reached slowly into my jacket, every second ticking like a countdown. The flash drives, the photos, the ring, proof of everything Victor had done, of every crime he'd forced Emma and Jake into. My hands trembled as I pulled it out. Suddenly, shouts echoed outside. Police. Sirens. Flashing lights splintered the darkness. Victor's men panicked, one dragging Lucas back, the other aiming at me. Victor bared his teeth. You called the cops? I shook my head, desperate. I didn't, but maybe someone else wanted this over. A crash. Emma burst in, Jake limping behind her, a cop at their heels. She threw herself at Victor's enforcer, knocking his aim wide as a gunshot tore the air. I tackled Lucas, dragging him behind a crate as chaos exploded. Gunfire, shouting, the warehouse filling with blue light and running feet. Emma screamed my name. I saw her struggle with Victor, the package tumbling to the floor. Jake tackled Victor from behind, all the pent-up guilt and fear erupting at once. Police swarmed, pinning men to the concrete, shouts echoing. I crawled to Emma, scooping up the evidence just as an officer grabbed me, demanding I drop it. Hands in the air, I let it fall. The nightmare, at last, was over. Or so I thought, until an officer turned to Emma and said, We need to talk. We know you weren't just a victim. We have witnesses. Are you ready to tell the real story? Emma's face went white, and I realized the truth we'd been fighting for was far darker than I ever imagined. The warehouse crackled with tension as police zipped cuffs and read rights. Victor stared daggers at Emma, but the bravado was gone. Jake slumped against a wall, clutching his arm, and Lucas just kept repeating, It's over. It's finally over. But for Emma, it was just beginning. A detective led her away, eyes grave. I followed, refusing to let her go alone. In a cramped office, the detective's words were blunt. Emma, you're not just a bystander. We know you helped Victor launder money and run deliveries. Multiple witnesses, evidence, and your own brother's statement put you at the center of this. If you want a chance at a life outside prison, now's the time to talk. Emma's hands shook, but her voice was steady. If I cooperate, will my brother be safe? The detective nodded. If you help us bring down Victor's network, you can protect Jake. You can protect everyone. But we need everything, Emma. All the names, the accounts, the drops. I squeezed her hand, silently begging her to trust the system just this once. Emma took a shuddering breath, looked at me, and nodded. Okay, I'll tell you everything. For hours, she laid it all out. How Jake's debt dragged them into Victor's world. How Emma became a courier to shield him. How she lied to me and her family. How Lucas tried to help, but got pulled too deep. Every dark secret, every coded message, every threat Victor ever made. By the time dawn crept through grimy blinds, the detective finally closed her notebook. You did the right thing, she said quietly. They let Emma and Jake leave with a warning. House arrest, constant monitoring, but freedom if they testified. Lucas was cleared. Victor's network was crumbling by sunrise, police raiding drop sites, his lieutenants running scared. But as we left the precinct, exhausted and hollow, Emma stopped in the street. There's one thing I never told you, she said, voice breaking. The first delivery? It wasn't for Victor. It was for my father. He owed money to the same people. He started this, and I finished it. The final secret hung in the air, heavy and undeniable. All this time, I've been searching for someone to blame. And sometimes, family is where the darkness begins. Sunrise painted the city in fragile gold as we walked in silence, each step a little lighter and a little heavier at once. Emma's revelation gnawed at me, the realization that every secret, every lie, had begun so much further back than I'd ever known. She clung to my arm, eyes red but determined, as if daring the world to try and break her again. At Maya's apartment, our makeshift safe haven, Jake lay on the couch, finally asleep, a police ankle monitor blinking beneath his jeans. Lucas brewed coffee, eyes haunted but relieved, avoiding the questions he knew none of us could answer yet. Emma sat across from me, wringing her hands. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "If I told you about my father, about how deep I was in, I thought you'd leave. Or worse, you'd try to save me and get lost, too." I took her hands in mine, feeling the tremor in her bones. "You should have trusted me," I said, gentler than I expected. "But I get it. Fear changes people. It almost changed us forever." She nodded, tears slipping down her cheeks. "Do you think you can ever forgive me?" The question echoed in the quiet. I thought about the warehouse, the gunshot, the envelope with my name on it, her desperate text, "Run." I remembered the woman I loved before the secrets. I remembered the stranger she'd become, fighting for her brother, her family, for us. "I don't know," I admitted. "But I want to try. If we're honest, from here on out." Relief broke over her face. A small, fragile hope. Over the next few days, the city became a patchwork of beginnings and endings. Victor's men disappeared, police cars haunted every intersection, and the news ran our faces on every broadcast. Identity theft ring busted. Local woman turned state's witness. Some called Emma a criminal, others called her a hero. The truth was somewhere in between. Jake entered rehab, determined to finally face his demons. Lucas moved away, starting fresh. Emma and I, cautiously, awkwardly, began to rebuild, step by bruised step. I watched her every day, searching for the truth behind her eyes, learning to trust the person she was becoming. There were nightmares, hers and mine, but there were also sunrises, forgiveness, and the stubborn hope that something good might still grow from the wreckage. And as the city healed, so did we, slowly, imperfectly, but together. Healing, I discovered, isn't a straight line. It's circling the same fears, the same doubts, again and again, until finally, you start to believe the danger is truly over. Emma and I spent weeks living like ghosts, keeping blinds drawn, checking the locks twice, flinching at unknown numbers. Each day, though, we tried to carve out something real. Shared breakfasts, walks by the river, awkward laughter over inside jokes that somehow survived the storm. Emma's house arrest ended the same week Jake finished rehab. The three of us met on the hospital lawn, sunlight soft on our faces. Jake hugged Emma like he'd never let go. I shook his hand, still wary but determined to try. "Thank you for not giving up on her," he whispered. "She saved my life. You did too." We tried to leave the past behind, but the world wouldn't always let us. A reporter cornered me at a coffee shop, waving headlines in my face, desperate for a confession or a soundbite. I kept my answers short and honest. "We made mistakes. We paid for them. We're just trying to move on." Some people stared. Some offered kindness. Most just kept walking. Emma found a job at a nonprofit, helping women rebuild after trauma. Sometimes I'd catch her looking at old photos, a sad smile tugging at her lips. "We can't change what happened," she told me once, "but maybe we can make sure it doesn't happen to someone else." Our relationship was different, scarred, but strangely stronger. We talked more, fought less. I trusted her honesty, even when it hurt. She trusted my stubborn loyalty, even when she doubted herself. Then, one evening, I found an envelope on our doorstep. No return address, just our names in bold marker. Inside, a single key and a note. "A new start, if you want it. Unit 21, Riverview Lofts." Emma's hand shook as she read it. "Do you think?" "I think it's real," I said, hope flickering in my chest. "If we're ready." She looked up, eyes brimming with possibility and fear. "Let's do it together," she whispered. For the first time in a long while, the future didn't look haunted. It looked open, and maybe ours. Moving into Riverview Lofts felt like shedding an old skin. The place was modest, but full of light, windows framing the river's slow shimmer. Emma arranged the furniture, humming to herself, an unfamiliar song that still made me smile. I hung the only photo we kept, the two of us at the beach, before everything. For a while, it was almost easy to believe we were just another couple, starting over. But shadows have a long reach. A week after moving in, someone buzzed our door late at night. I hesitated, heart thumping. Emma squeezed my hand. "We're safe," she whispered, but doubt lingered. At the door stood an older man, gray at the temples, suit worn thin. He looked at Emma with weary eyes. "I'm your father," he said softly. "I heard what happened. I want to make it right. Emma froze, anger and longing warring in her face. Why now? She asked, voice tight. Where were you when Victor came? When Jake was drowning? When I was losing everything? He took a shaky breath, running from my own mess. I thought staying away would protect you. I was wrong. I want to testify, clean up what I can. Maybe I can help you both finally be free. For a moment, no one spoke. I felt the old ache return. Fear, mistrust, the cost of letting someone back in. Emma stepped aside, just a fraction. You can try, she said, her voice stronger than I'd ever heard it. The days that followed were a blur of lawyers, statements, courtrooms. Emma's father gave his testimony, facing his past at last. The case closed for good, the last debts, legal and emotional, finally paid. On our first quiet night in the new apartment, I found Emma on the balcony, staring at the city lights. She leaned against me, her head on my shoulder. We did it, she whispered. We survived. I kissed her hair. We did more than that. We started over. For real this time. She nodded, tears glinting but happy. Thank you for not giving up on me. For believing in who I could be, not just what I'd done. We stood together in the darkness, the city humming around us, the future finally, ours to shape. The seasons shifted. Spring melted into summer. The river grew warm, and the world outside our windows slowly seemed less threatening. There were days when the weight of what we'd lived through felt far away, almost like it had happened to someone else. But at night, sometimes, I'd wake to Emma's quiet tears or find myself reaching for her in the dark, just to be sure she was still there. We filled our new home with laughter. Imperfect, hard-won laughter. Emma's brother visited often, sober and steady, grateful for a second chance. Lucas sent postcards from his new city, writing about hope and fresh starts. Even Emma's father called, checking in, determined to be the parent he'd never been. But it was the small moments that made me realize we'd truly survived. The way Emma curled up beside me to read on rainy evenings. The impromptu dinners with friends who knew the worst and stayed anyway. The ring she wore again, not as a promise of perfection, but as a symbol of forgiveness and new beginnings. One quiet Sunday, as we walked by the river, Emma squeezed my hand. I don't need happy ever after, she said. Just this. You. A life we build honestly. No more secrets. I stopped and turned to her, the sun catching in her hair. No more secrets, I promised. Not ever again. And I meant it. Because after everything, betrayal, danger, heartbreak, we'd found something worth more than trust. We'd found a way back to each other. The past would always be a part of us. But we weren't running anymore. We were living.